Okay, I think we're back.
All right.
Um, Sorry, everyone. Our usual internet issues at this point. So what were you asking me?
Yeah. So like, obviously, we joke about the whole Chris Paul thing. I think just because like it's funny to think of the Knicks just reverting to the same old Knicks. But like bits aside, what are you looking at this offseason and being like, yeah, I'd love if the Heat could do blank.
I feel like I'm gonna go into this kind of in a depressed way, but like there's like what are the trades that you could possibly make? This is like the absolute like worst possible time you could try to trade Tyler Hero. The like main trade trip for the last year, who just had a horrendous playoff series and looked like the
Mm-hmm.
Bucks made him look like he shouldn't be in the NBA. Like so where and then like the trade chips has been Precious, Tyler, Duncan, Nunn. Precious, who does not play,
Mm-hmm.
and looks pretty incompetent when he does. Um, he's a rookie though, and he's like a very raw, so it's fine. Maybe that'll be okay.
Yeah.
Nunn, who I think's ceiling is to be a like worse version of like a Jordan Clarkson type, like a seventy
Yeah.
percent of Jordan Clarkson type of player. Just
Yeah.
come like off the bench, like little microwave scorer type of guy. I really think that's all I can really expect from Nunn. Um,
Yeah.
Duncan is probably the guy with the best trade value of those guys now, which I wouldn't have expected a year ago. Um,
Honestly, yeah.
like this year, he was I think third in threes, fourth in threes. Um,
Yeah.
Still not not young, but still like 26. You can sign him
Young
to
enough.
yeah, young enough for a nice 4 year deal. But he's the free agent, so that's the issue. Nunn is also a free agent. Um, so I say all this because I really feel like the trade market has had to have dried up because now that, again, as we've known, the Heat have no picks to trade, and then their main trade asset has like completely plummeted in any sort of value. Um,
Yeah.
it seems like trading isn't the way to go. Who knows? Um, I've told you that the only guys I really think I'm all confident at all about keeping are Jimmy, Bam, and Duncan. I think
Yeah.
Duncan is necessary if this team is going to be built around Jimmy and Bam. You need like this guy who's like an elite, like top five shooter in the league. If your
Yeah.
best two guys can't shoot, and also if your best two guys are really good at finding him too, like they complement each other so well. I really think Duncan is kind of necessary unless you can replace him with someone similar. But I feel like Duncan fits into the system so well. After that,
I feel like Duncan's also
mm,
where like we realized doesn't grow on trees. Like
yeah,
for a while, I feel like it was like, oh yeah, just find a 3-and-D guy, and then like we you see someone like Duncan and you see how few players play like him, and it's like, all right, that's not easy to do. Like we have him, we should probably hang on to him
yeah,
because you're not just gonna find a replacement for that.
yeah. I really don't think you're going to be able to. So then you look at the rest of the team, and I'd love to keep Dragic if it is can be cheap. He's also a free agent with a team option right now.
Yeah,
So if we can just get him for like 5 million or something, uh, that's fine. If like we can't figure out how to spend the rest of the money that we have, then I guess sure, why not give him the team option? Like,
yeah,
what else are we gonna do with that money?
yeah.
Uh, After that, just like they can all leave. I don't want to see 36-year-old or 37-year-old Andre Iguodala playing 20 minutes a night anymore. I don't want to
Yeah.
see 36-year-old Trevor Ariza logging 35 to 40 minutes in playoff games. Um, I like guys like Bjelica, just like such a bizarre trade in retrospect. Like he was obviously supposed to be like an Olynyk replacement, but Kelly was way better than Bjelica ever was, and Bjelica barely played. Bottom of the bench guys, who cares? Like Gabe Vincent, and Max Strus probably played more than a large amount of two-way players this year. So, like I don't know, they don't really have much value or anything, but they can stay. Uh,
Yeah.
KZ Okpala, complete bust this year after like so much publicizing in the preseason that like, oh, he's going to be a big part of the team this year. He's going to be in the rotation. Complete disappointment. Precious, look, I'll give him another year, but like looks so lost out there. There was a time Tom and I joked about this in one of the Heat games. One of the Heat Bucks games, there was a play in which Precious came in garbage time. The Heat were down like 25, and I think it's the first time he's playing all series, and he just like the first time he gets the ball, he just like completely trucks someone and gets a charge. Like just like zero awareness of anyone being around him.
It looked like a horse galloping. Like,
yeah.
Looked like 4 steps into it, had the ball held like a running back, and just tried to bowl over. I think it was like, I don't think it was Dante DiVincenzo. I think it may have been Pat Connaughton, because Dante is hurt. But like, it just actually, I think it was like the Bucks' like 12th guy. It was a guy I had never heard of.
No, I'm pretty sure it was
Just
Sam Merrill.
like, a guy I have never heard of. Just getting bulldozed by apparently like prime Steven Jackson, Precious Achiuwa.
Yeah.
Sorry, not Steven Jackson. This is gonna bug me. Who's the running back? He used to play for the Rams. It'll come to me. But yeah, no, it was a hilarious play.
Yeah. So with all that in mind, what I would like for the Heat to do this offseason is to get a point guard who can actually play point guard, who is not 35 years old, which is a tough ask, I know. But and to get
guard who is 36 years old.
To get a real 3-and-D guy. I don't know, like you said, these guys don't grow on trees. You can't just find Mikal Bridges. You can't just find Jay Crowder
or Joe Harris.
Yeah. So I don't know. Really search for someone like that. Maybe he's in the G League. I don't know. And then just And a friend of mine brought up a good point recently, where he said like, well, the Heat probably aren't going to be in like the Lakers, Clippers, any of these other teams' status where it's like, oh, some vets are going to be like, oh, I want to go there to like, you know, maybe get a ring. Like that time's past. That would have been last off season. That's how we got like guys like Avery Bradley.
But you are still a team, like you are still an NBA franchise in Miami. Like that's true. They're not going to be like the Lakers or the Clippers, but they're also not going to be like the Pacers or like the Jazz, where it's like, no, we kind of have to really sell free agents on this. And like, if we are not a legit finals contender, nobody is going to sign with us. Like you could be in worse places as a free agent destination.
Definitely. I'd say one big free agent I would love to sign. So obviously there's the Chris Paul elephant in the room of like that might happen. There's the Kyle Lowry one, both 35-year-old point guards. Maybe Lowry will actually happen. I would love for us to maybe look a little younger, and I know I said this a lot during the trade line too, and see if we can somehow get our hands on Lonzo Ball, but I don't know if that's possible at this point. So those are my two asks. And yeah, because I think Tyler's going to be on the team next year because I don't think we're going to be able to trade him. So
Yeah, because I feel like at this point his value has almost swung to the point where it's like, wait, like he might not have been great this year, but also he's probably better than like the offers you're gonna get for him.
Yeah, definitely. He can still get
Whereas
better.
like at the end of the day, you have a 21-year-old shooting guard who put up 37 in a playoff game at 20. Like I get that was like that feels like a million years ago right now, but like there are going to be trade offers I feel like that come in that look ridiculous when you say it like that.
Yeah, definitely. I also want to see Bam start. I know this is like the same like Ben Simmons thing that I know like people I often will complain about, but I want to see Bam at least just
Yeah.
like give me like one corner three a game. I think he can do it. His jump shot is
Ooh.
so smooth from like 15 to 18 feet. I don't see why he can't stretch
Yeah.
it out a little bit more.
It does look good coming out of his hand.
Yeah.
It's curious that he has never like, tried one.
Yeah. So I'd like to see that. And I don't know what happened to Jimmy Butler in this playoff series. It's so bizarre. He was so good this whole season. He was getting like second team, third team All NBA love in the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
And I know they just kind of game planned really well around him.
Like has more of an MVP case than we're giving him credit for.
Yeah.
That really started like late in the season.
And yeah, so I don't know what happened with him, but I think it's just it looks so much worse when you make the comments that Jimmy makes. And I know that's why everyone loves him because and why I love him because he can be so confident. But when he says things like just get us to the playoffs and I'll take care of the rest, or that comment that he made about being, as James is bringing up in the chat right now, about him being stupidly locked into this Buck series and then maybe having the worst playoff series of his entire career, probably. I haven't done the research on that, but probably of his like more recent career since he's been like a star. Has to have been.
It wasn't good.
Worst. So yeah, it just looks a lot worse when he's so cocky. But I know, like, that's also why I love him because he's so cocky. And last year he was deservedly incredibly cocky. So I'll give him a pass for right now. That's what I got for Heat off season. What are you thinking for the Knicks off season?
I'd say the Knicks offseason, the key in my mind is just like, yes, we accelerated the timeline. We're moving a little faster than we thought we were. That does not mean that it's time to floor it and potentially crash the car. Like there's Knicks fans who I can only assume are walking around their house in hats made of tinfoil who just are assuming that Dame Lillard is going to come here. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't think that's at all possible. And even if it was possible, like the Knicks would probably have to give up every young player they have.
Yeah.
Like you're probably saying goodbye to like Mitchell Robinson and RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, like, and several draft picks. And I get that all does seem like a pretty like low like that feels like a price you could pay to get Dame Lillard. But it also just feels like it runs contrary to like everything they're trying to build here. I also just don't like. I feel like we're doing the thing we do every offseason with Dame Lillard, where it's like, yeah, his team lost in the playoffs. Now he wants to leave when we have no indication that he would want to do that. So that's my rant on like the Photoshop culture that exists.
Mm-hmm.
I would say. So here's the deal: the Knicks are going to have like $55 million in cap space. And that is with Nerlens, Reggie Bullock, Alec Burks, Frank Ntilikina, Elfrid Payton, and Taj Gibson and Derrick Rose. 7? D Rose, Nerlens, Burks, Frank, Elf, Reggie, Taj. 7 players that are potentially going to be going to be free agents that you have like 55 mil to re-sign and then bring in whoever you would like to on top of whatever players you bring back. So I think the key is just like identify where you can improve the most and realize that you're probably not going to like build a team that contends with a Milwaukee or a Brooklyn this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
So like step one, I'd say bring back D Rose, whatever the number is. Like they had one player in this series who could consistently get to the rim and score, and it was Derrick Rose. And I am not an NBA GM, but I feel like the the best way to move forward would not involve letting that player go somewhere else. You want to hang on to that guy. After that, I'd say like the areas you can improve, maybe the Elfrid Payton minutes, like that sort of regular season starting point guard who we start so that D Rose is healthy come the playoffs. You could probably do something there.
Lonzo Ball.
Like maybe, yeah, like at least they have the money to throw an offer sheet at Lonzo Ball.
Yeah.
That like, and he's not a player that I would feel like really bad if they go into that like 3 or 4 years, like 18 to 23 mil a year space for. And like even if New Orleans matches that, okay, make them match it. Like, so you've tied up more of their money. So like Lonzo Ball would be a great target. Past that, I think like maybe you could make some improve. You could just bring in like wings, like just basically what Atlanta did last year, where it was like, okay, we've got an exciting team. Now we just want to bring in like more real NBA players that like teams are going to have to pay attention to in a playoff series. So like I have Norm Powell on the list of guys I would love to see them like make a serious run at. Now, obviously, Norm Powell's probably going to have better teams looking at him, but at the same time, like I don't know how many teams are going to have the money that the Knicks have. I had Tim Hardaway Jr. as a guy I could see the Knicks potentially making a run at because Dallas is going to have to pay Luka in 2 off seasons and might be hesitant to tie themselves into too much money. But yeah, as far as the players also that like I would like to see them bring back Reggie Bullock. You're paying him like $4 million a year right now. You're not going to like you're not going to like bankrupt yourselves paying Reggie Bullock, and he's a great guy for like the culture of what they're building right now. Mm-hmm. Like Taj Gibson, probably not going to be super expensive to bring back if I had to guess, considering that he was like available in the middle of the season this year.
You could probably bring him back.
And another one who like wouldn't be expensive, but would be great to have in the building again. Nerlens is an interesting one because like I could see there being a bit more of market. Yeah, like I could see there being more of a market than there was at the start of the year for him. So like with him, I'd say just like set a number and don't go over it because like that's really where you like he was great. But the ideal version of this team, you're probably starting Mitchell Robinson at center in whatever your next playoff series is. And you can't lose sight of that. So bring back Bullock, bring back Taj. I don't know if Elfrid comes back. I wouldn't mind seeing Burks back, but like I feel like if they're gonna make strides, it's gonna be like on the wings and then that like starting point guard spot.
Yeah.
And it's tricky too, because like a lot of their players that like you want to see make leaps, like RJ Barrett, ideally he's still your starting either 2 or 3 at the start of the next year. So like you want to improve at the wing, but you don't want to like bury him in the depth chart where it's like, okay, well, we brought in like a Norm Powell and now we have Reggie and Norm Powell and both of them are like better than RJ Barrett right now.
Yeah, which no, you don't want that.
I don't think it's true, but like it's the kind of thing that could happen if RJ hits a rough patch like he did early this year.
It's also the kind of thing that would happen with a team that is like would like try to accelerate from being like, all right, we're pretty good to we're trying to now win the conference.
Yeah, like it's all of a sudden you've screwed up the development of a player who like still probably has a higher ceiling than most people on this roster.
Yeah. Can I name
and then, like,
some
IQ is What's up?
I was going to say, can I name some point guards that are free agents this offseason to see if you'd want the Knicks to take a look at them?
By all means.
Okay.
Yes.
We can make this like a quick little segment. Just give me some yes and no's. So obviously we have Chris Paul.
Chris Paul for 3 years, $100 million. No, I don't want to do. Because like the player that the Knicks would need to land to contend for a title probably isn't out there this offseason, but might be out there in the next couple of off seasons. And
Mm.
so they're basically in that, like, you can't win a 2023 title this off season, but you could lose it by locking yourself into 38-year-old Chris Paul for too much money. So I would be out on Chris Paul at that, like, length and price point.
Okay. So you're saying 3 years, 100 million for Chris Paul is not worth for you, like maybe getting, like if you get an
Like a second.
advantageous layout in the bracket next year, getting to the conference finals.
Mhm. They're not getting to the conference finals though.
I'm thinking like
Like I know
you
I
get a
know it's
lineup
possible.
of like so I would assume the Knicks can be, if they bring back this same lineup and can bring in Chris Paul and you replace Alfred Payton minutes with Chris Paul's minutes, I think they make it, you could maybe jump up to, actually I don't know. It's kind of tough to jump into the next echelon. But you jump to
It's
3
it's
and then you
it's
can
tough to me because, like, the East, to make the conference finals, you're gonna have to beat one of Milwaukee, Philly, or Brooklyn in a second round series. And I just don't, like, even with a Chris Paul, I don't know if I see them doing that.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a really lucky draw where like one of those 3 teams got injured and like is a lower seed than they should have been.
Yeah. Like one of those, like a weird year where it's like, oh, the Knicks wound up in 3 and Indiana is 2.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one of them is in the conference finals. But
All
no,
right.
3 years, 100 mil Chris Paul, I don't want.
So we don't know what the offer for the next guy would be, but Mike Conley.
If you go like 2 years and a good amount of money, I could talk myself into it. My question is, why would he, especially if like both LA teams get bounced in round 1 and Utah makes a run at this, I don't know why he wouldn't just re-up there. But if he's out there, I could talk myself into Mike Conley.
Yeah,
But like it would have to be like the right, like, not too long, not too much money, but it would probably wind up being like a 2-year max or something. I could talk myself into Mike Conley.
okay. Could you talk yourself? Would you have a similar response to Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, I would. Like, where it's just like, okay, Kyle Lowry is one though where I assume he's also going to have like better teams trying to draw him in, and like I'm fine. The thing with like this Lowry and Mike Conley duo also is that, like, if the Knicks get them, it'll wind up being like we way overpaid for like the best or second best point guard that's available just to show that we can do that, and that's stupid and like probably won't work very well. And I want to avoid that.
No,
So like, yeah, like I could talk myself into Conley or Kyle Lowry, but I also would be very nervous about how it could break.
I think the market. All right, we're about to hit a little bit of a dip. You have Goran Dragic.
Probably not. Like, that's, if I'm going to be going for a 35-year-old point guard, you know.
Yeah, we just listed 3 better ones.
Yeah.
A man who just
The next thing you're about to say is probably going to interest me.
Oh, I'm curious. Is it Dennis Schroeder?
That's the one that, like, I don't know, because I don't know what his like status will be with the Lakers. I don't know how much the Lakers will want to like I don't know what the Lakers are going to be doing as far as like offering the same money as other teams. The Lakers might wind up doing like a sign and trade with him for a different point guard. But like if it winds up being just like, hey, do the Knicks want to offer like 3 years and probably a little bit too much money for Dennis Schroeder? I think I might be okay with that.
Yeah.
And like I realize that this is, logically speaking, probably kind of faulty logic on my part, because like that would be the case of, oh, so they maxed out a player who's probably not a max player.
I think my only
but also
worry
it would make him a lot better
with Schroeder is like how similar of a role he'd play to Rose.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Like I
Like
feel
not
like
a great shooting point guard who
yeah,
can work with certain lineups.
like the valuable one would be like I feel like Lowry or Conley. I mean, any of those first three guys,
Yes.
like guys that can still guard guards really well and still shoot threes reliably. Um, which is
Yes.
like obviously what you want in any point guard. But um,
Yes.
yeah, looking at the offseason this year, there's
Um,
just so I there wasn't any
After
other
that,
point guards I was gonna name, but if there's any you're looking at,
honestly, after that, then you get into like Spencer Dinwiddie has a player option for this offseason that like he might turn down, might take. He is coming off the ACL. And like if he is, how much do you really want to invest in a player that is coming off an ACL? Then you get into Lonzo, who we talked about. And after that, like the best point guard available was probably Derrick Rose.
yeah,
Oh, Devontae Graham was another one who
hmm.
looked interesting, but like Devontae Graham probably fills a similar-ish role to Derrick Rose, though, where it's like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, you
better
can
shooter I
create an
think,
offense.
right?
Your defense probably isn't going to be great. He's restricted, but that's kind of a case where I'm like, okay, Charlotte's probably got their starting backcourt lined up. Like, how much do they really want to match a Devontae Graham offer sheet? Um, Although it's not like they're paying an insanely high number of players outside of him. But yeah, that's basically the point guard discussion.
Yeah. To close this out, um, let's do a quick, like, pretty much like 5-ish minutes, 10-ish minutes on the other things that are happening
Yeah.
in the playoffs. I want your, like, on the hot seat predictions for
Okay. Yeah.
these series we have going on right now. So we got, I gotta remember when everyone's playing, but right now, Phoenix.
Tonight is Denver, Portland, and Suns.
Okay. So tonight we have Denver up 3-2. We have Phoenix up 3-2. We have Dallas up 3-2 right now. Um, and did I get at everyone? Utah's up 3-1.
Uh, yeah. It's Utah's up 3-1. The
Oh,
Sixers
Utah won the
closed out the
series.
Wizards.
Utah won.
Okay,
Didn't
yeah,
realize
because
that.
the only two first round series left are, or three first round series left are Lakers, Suns, Blazers, Nuggets, Mavs, Clippers.
Yes. All which
Yeah,
have a 3-2 lead for probably, I don't know, maybe the team you wouldn't have expected to be winning it. I think we're all a little surprised by how well the Nuggets are kind of weathering without Murray in these playoffs. They have
yeah.
gotten like really, really great minutes out of like their other point guards. Monte Morris was like
Oh
really
yeah.
spectacular the other day off the bench. So let's just do quick predictions for these last three series. If Anthony Davis
Sure.
does not play tonight, it feels weird picking against a LeBron team in the first
Yeah.
round. But the way that the
Yep.
Suns just completely waxed them the other night and how unmotivated this Lakers team actually looked, I know that's getting into like body language stuff, but
Yeah.
there is a level of discombobulation with the Lakers where they don't seem to really have the best handle on who their guys are yet, whereas Phoenix is so like feels like very perfectly crafted and they know exactly what they're doing.
Yes.
Where that feels like enough of an edge already, and then if the Lakers don't have Anthony Davis, I don't know. I feel like the Suns are gonna win, but I do worry if the Lakers win
Is
this
it?
game, how Game 7 looks.
I think. Yeah. If the Lakers win Game 6, I feel like they win 7 as well. Is it like a binary for you? Like if AD plays tonight, the Lakers win.
No,
Okay, yeah, because it's not for me either. Like I think there's a world where the Suns win and AD plays, but is like hobbled and not himself.
yeah,
Like LeBron's hobbled and not entirely himself right now
yeah.
too.
No,
Um,
he's not. Like you'd expect him to be like really trying to take over these games, like the sort of like 40-point triple double type games that we've seen them do in the past in the playoffs, and we're not seeing any of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I think the last time a LeBron team was down 3-2 in conference in the playoffs, he did pull out one of those like 45 and 15
yeah,
and 8 games against Boston. So, like, I'm not going to pick against LeBron until he's like out, though. Like right
yeah.
now, my gut still says Lakers in 7, even though it looks very improbable with what we've seen on the court.
So obviously the other night was a blowout, but the Lakers.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna not include Jared Dudley here. The
Okay.
Lakers played 13 guys the other night. Obviously, it's a
Yep.
blowout. They're down 30 for a lot of that, but a lot of these
Yep.
guys played like 20 plus minutes too. Um, I
Yeah.
really do feel like this is a weird identity crisis thing for them. Even in this blowout, the Suns played a lot of guys too, but it was still their main guys playing the most, and their main, um, the main core. I really, I don't know. I'm kind of, I just don't know if I can see them like turning it on. Like, if any team can turn it on, it's them. But I also feel like they feel too discombobulated to do this.
And Phoenix feels too steady to just have it turned on like that and like roll over.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
But again, I will be surprised if a LeBron team loses in conference.
Yeah. No, I would be too. All right, next we have Denver, Portland. Again, not to get. I mean, no. At this point, I think we can get into the narrative things.
Mhm.
Like losing that game where Dame had 55 and hit two incredible game-tying threes has to be so demoralizing.
Yeah.
And Dame is not going to have. I would love to be wrong. He's not going to have.
Careful.
He's not going to make 12 threes again tonight, and score
You just
55 points on, like, I think it was the most efficient 50-plus point playoff game ever.
Yeah. I kind of think this one's going to go 7 just because I think, like, it's a Denver playoff series, so it can only be weird. It wouldn't shock me if CJ McCollum goes off and has like 30 after the game he had Tuesday night. And like, yeah, sure, like Dame might not hit 12 threes, but like, let's see, what was the let me check this box score real quick. Like Dame's probably not hitting 12 threes. But between Dame and CJ, do you think they could get to 14 threes?
Yeah, no, that's
'Cause that's
possible.
what we're at as a duo on Tuesday night.
Certainly possible. I mean, the thing that happened in the last game was that everyone besides Dame was completely out of it for the last, like, 15 minutes of this game, including the two overtimes.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you also have the issue of the non-Nurkic minutes, which have looked horrible.
Yeah.
Like,
There's also
just the bench minutes. On the other night, they played 9 guys, and don't want to read too much into plus minus, but it gives you a good idea where, like, okay, in Rondé Hollis Jefferson's 9 minutes, he was minus 21, and in Anthony Simon's 15 minutes, he was minus 15. And they only lost by 7.
Dave, who is the only Portland Trailblazer to have a positive plus minus off the bench?
It was Melo in 30 minutes.
It was Melo. Really makes you think. Don't talk about what he shot that night. It was bad. No, but like, I do think there's something to that, and I think you also see like Portland's aware of that when you look at the minutes breakdowns from this double overtime game, where like Portland had 3 guys play 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Denver had 0. Like Portland kind of knew once they got into that overtime, yeah, we can only live and die with these 5 guys.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes me worried about. I actually think Denver takes it tonight, but we'll see.
Yeah, you've swayed me. I think I'm gonna say Denver goes home with it tonight.
And then finally, the weirdest series of all of
Mavs
these
Clippers.
so far has been Mavs Clippers, which went from a very lopsided first two games to an equally lopsided second game, two games in favors of the Clippers.
Yeah.
And then the momentum had completely shifted where everyone was saying like, okay, the Mavs aren't winning another game in this series. It's completely shifted to the Clippers. They have it. They figured it out. And then they lost the other night. Um, so
Yep.
this one, I really actually have no idea what to think of. Um, I know that there's a stat going around today on Twitter, which was in the games this series that they've lost. The like one of the common factors is that Ivica Zubac plays a lot. Um, that's both him being hunted on defense and like the Mavs being able to like out, um, like big ball like if you're gonna play big, the Mavs have a lot of guys that can do that. Um,
Yeah.
whereas the Clippers are
They
gonna be
started, I
able
think,
to,
the second. They started like the second tallest lineup in playoff history last night.
yeah, they started Boban and Porzingis, like
Yeah. Yeah. Just a lot of length on the floor.
yeah, and it puts the Clippers in this odd position of their only like kind of rim protector is. I mean, this happens every single playoffs. There is a big guy who
Yeah.
cannot play in the playoffs,
Yeah.
like on a good
The,
on a
the,
great team.
the Tiago Splitter special.
Yeah, like that, like Montrezl Harrell on the Clippers last year.
Yep.
Like so many years of Enes Kanter on the various contenders he's been on.
Yeah. Which props to Enes Kanter because he's actually been like the best defender they have for Jokic this year.
Yeah.
But he has been that guy several times.
Yeah. So I don't know. Looking at these lineups, I think this is gonna probably go 7 because but I could flip a coin here.
Yeah.
You need like really Herculean efforts from Luka to
Yeah.
bring it home tonight. Similarly to how he played the other night, nearly a 42
Yeah, like, I
point
think
triple double.
Yeah, they said he scored or assisted on I think 61 of the Mavs' 66 made baskets.
Yeah.
Or something. Actually, let me pull it up.
Or do you mean
Yeah.
31 of
He scored
37?
or assisted on 31 of 37 made field goals. Which like, and it's funny too because like looking at that and then watching him play, like he's able to do this without really looking like he's like expending too much effort. Like there was a point early in the fourth last night where he came on earlier than it seemed like he was expecting to because the Clippers started to break back into that lead. And like his first couple possessions down the floor, it was like, okay, cool. I'm going to take like 2 dribbles to the right and just dot a pass to Tim Hardaway Jr. in the corner. And then I'm going to come up. I'm on the left wing. I'm going to stop and just sort of lob it into Boban in the post.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's perfect passes both time that set up a shot. And it's like he can control a game while kind of easing off the gas pedal a bit.
Capable of hitting.
So I think the Mavs win it, but I agree with you.
Yeah. It'll just be really strange. We're about to get into a...
We both just picked against Kawhi Leonard. You realize that, right?
Well, I don't know how sold I am on that pick. Because part of me thinks this can just go 7, and then I don't know. Like every game has kind of flipped my expectations because it has been like a weird type of chess match of like, I don't know. The Clippers are kind of seeming like they just don't have a lot of moves for this chess match. Their only move is to go
the
small.
Clippers,
That's it.
yeah. Part of that is also because like Serge hasn't played.
Yeah.
But it is like it's weird. A team that like 2 years ago, like this time 2 years ago, we were talking about having like moves for everything. Like they'll they'll have Pat Bev at point guard, and they'll have Kawhi, and they'll have PG, and they'll be able to switch everything. And like a team like that team in a really short time just became the team that kind of has one strategy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, we roll out the ball and we hope Kawhi Leonard goes alien.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll be make a really fun playoffs if both LA teams are out in the first round. And I'm really curious if there's ever been a time where both finals teams from the previous year were out in the first round the next year.
That would be an interesting one to look into. I might actually look into that when we hop off here.
Yeah.
Just because I'm curious.
It also make me feel way better about the Heat if both of those if both the Lakers and Clippers lose in the first round, the Heat like no one cares anymore. Like I don't well, there will still be people that care and make fun of the Heat and call them the bubble team or whatever, but all attention of like being a humiliating round one loss will shift to other teams. So that'll be great for me.
Yeah.
And I think we'll very quickly get.
I'm slightly.
Sorry. Okay, I think
I still am slightly rooting for the timeline where the Clippers win the West, having never beaten the Lakers, just so we get some real salty fans with that narrative.
That would be good. We're also going to get, I think, the Lakers narrative, if they lose, is going to be, and LeBron's going to set it, I think, from the post-game interview. I know he doesn't like to make excuses, and I don't think he's going to make an excuse here, but he will talk about how it was a weird season, and like the injuries and the quick turnaround from the bubble and starting earlier than they were expecting and the play-in tournament.
I think there's going to be some light tampering if they lose to the Suns, where LeBron comes out and is like, "Yeah, we lost to my good friend Chris Paul and also Devin Booker, who's like one of my favorite young players in the league. I love the way he plays the game. He's going to be a good player in this league for a long time. Love to play with him one day. Not saying I'm going to, but I'd love to play with him one day." That feels like it's coming.
Yeah. And I think if both of those teams lose too, we're going to see some major shakeups, especially with the Clippers.
Oh yeah.
That'll be really interesting.
Like I was talking to my dad about this, and basically I was just like, because he was like, he made the very good point that like I don't have a problem with like LeBron sort of not tampering but like moving chess pieces around, but like when Kawhi and Paul George do it, I would find it funny if they lose, and I kind of had to make the point that like it would just be funny for Kawhi to have been like the Godfather 2 off seasons ago, and like picked exactly the team he wanted and like moved the chips and gotten them to trade like all of this stuff for Paul George, and then to have it not work, like dramatically not work for 2 off seasons straight. Like it would just be funny to see that plan kind of fail, and B, all of us who were talking about it and being like the Clippers are going to be the favorite for 2 years to come, having all of us be that wrong about it would also be funny to me.
It would be very funny. With that, on that note, I think I gotta head out. But
right.
Yeah, once I get over the Heat losing this, I'll be very excited about this playoffs, because I think no matter what, if these LA teams are out early, anyone can win.
It's gonna be interesting. Yeah.
I think Brooklyn like does have weaknesses that other teams can exploit. I don't think they're like as prohibitive of a favorite as people think.
Yeah.
Like I don't like this Boston team.
See that after one versus Giannis.
What?
Like just how many weaknesses they have. I think.
And this Bucks team feels like kind of like the perfect team to go up against them.
Yeah.
And just to not to go on too much longer here, but I was in like the most recent low post, or second most recent, I don't know, when they were previewing this Bucks Nets matchup a little bit. Zach was talked about how like a lot of the things that the Bucks did on defense to the Heat, they can just do on defense to the Nets too, just not because of or sorry, not on defense, on offense, because of like the various defensive liabilities on both teams. And
Yeah.
also talked about how like dominant the Bucks are on the offensive boards, and how the two worst offensive rebounding teams in the playoffs so far were the Heat at 16th and then the Nets at 15th. Um, Really good episode. Would highly recommend looking into, like, listening to it, because he made a lot of compelling cases to make me want to pick the Bucks in that series. Um,
Mm.
because it does seem like they are the like a perfectly crafted team to beat this Brooklyn team.
Yes. Like that's absolutely going to be a series that I'm watching every minute of
Yeah,
because it's going to be awesome.
you have Giannis on KD, Drew on
Yeah.
Kyrie or Harden. The tough part is Dante being out, because he's a good defender and could have guarded
Yeah.
the other Kyrie or
They
Harden.
their depth with him out also takes a huge hit.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, like Brooklyn, if you run a lineup of like Brook, Giannis, or like Brook, PJ Tucker, Giannis, Middleton, Drew, like you've got defenders at all five spots,
oh yeah,
and like enough shooting at the four spots that aren't Giannis that you can give them trouble.
yeah.
So I'm
It'll be
excited for that
interesting.
series. I'm sure you are too. And I think it's going to make it a lot easier to get over the Heat/Knicks sadness
Yes, it will.
that
Next
we
episode
went
will
over in
be
this episode.
next episode we have will be a lot cheerier, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. Next episode is going to be like just the Summer of Love basketball is awesome special.
Yes. But yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in. Um, and yeah, we will see you sometime next week. Not sure what day yet.